I really like this subclass, and I'm going to explore the abilities to show you why. Today I'm talking about the Path of the Juggernaut subclass for Barbarians from the Taldorei Reborn Critical Role book today on Flutes Loot. I have an article on flutesloot.com that goes over all of the Tal'Dorei Reborn subclasses and rates them and analyzes them. You can go to that with the description below's link, and I'll probably leave a comment with a link too. The Path of the Juggernaut is for barbarians who are resolute and immovable. They swing their weapons with such force as to push and shove enemies effortlessly around the battlefield. At 3rd level, you get Thunderous blows. When you hit a creature with a melee attack while you're raging, you can push that creature up to 5 feet away from you in a direction of your choice. Back, forward, left, right, up, down, whichever direction you want to knock them around. If the creature is huge or larger, it gets to make a strength saving throw and is not pushed if it is successful. Thunderous blows upgrades at level 10 to push a creature 10 feet instead of 5 feet when you hit it with a melee attack while you're raging. It helps you with battlefield control because you can knock enemies away as a free disengage. If they're not huge, you just always succeed on this. You hit them with an attack and they get shoved. You can knock them off cliffs, knock them into other hazards, knock them away from your allies. It's very useful. But it becomes even more useful for you at level 10 because now you can knock enemies 10 feet into the air, which triggers falling damage. If you fall 10 feet, you fall prone and you take 1d6 of damage. So now they're prone, you help your allies attack them at melee. In addition to whatever damage you do with your attacks, it's like you're adding a d6 to every hit as they just go 10 feet into the air over and over again. Also at 3rd level, you get Spirit of the Mountain. While you're raging, you can't be knocked prone or moved along the ground against your will. This might sound kind of lame, but it's actually pretty nice. Enemies that knock you prone can really get you in a bad position if they're swarming you. So being able to avoid that is awesome. But not only that, if you are a flying creature or a flying race of some sort and you're playing this kind of Juggernaut Barbarian, you can't be knocked prone out of the air while you're raging. Because usually if you get knocked prone, you fall and you might die if you fall far enough, right? And that's like the double-edged sword of being a flying race. But this Juggernaut Barbarian can't be knocked out of the sky. Not by being knocked prone, at least. Additionally, if you become grappled by some gargantuan tentacled creature, they can't pull you around the battlefield to toss you around or move you into their mouth, for example, because you can't be moved along the ground against your will. It's left to interpretation, though, whether they can lift you up and move you around, because it just says you can't be moved along the ground. And since you can't be moved along the ground, enemies can't just drag you around. They have to be big enough to pick you up off the ground so that you don't have your footing there and then try to eat you or fling you around or whatever. But if they just try to move you along the ground, it's not going to work. You'll be immovable. At level 6, you get 2 more features. The first is Demolishing Might. Your melee weapon attacks deal an extra 1d8 damage to constructs and deal double damage to objects and structures. So you're basically a siege weapon at all times, and you're able to knock objects and structures really hard. Double damage is a lot. You could potentially knock down doors and all kinds of things in the middle of combat that might be hindering you and just say, nope, I'm going to knock it out of the way. It's destroyed. And it's nice to get a flat bonus of a d8 every time you hit a construct. If you're fighting a golem or any kind of construct, you're just going to deal extra damage to them every attack. It's not once per turn, every attack. At level 6, you get Resolute Stance. This is an interesting one where at the start of your turn, no action required, you just choose to do this, you can assume a defensive stance that lasts until the start of your next turn. While in this stance, you can't be grappled, attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and your weapon attacks are made with disadvantage. This is interesting because if you chose to just do it as read, you'd make it so you can't be grappled, that's great, and you'd make it so attack rolls against you have disadvantage, that's great. Again, this didn't require an action, but you make it so your weapon attacks have disadvantage, so that's the downside. So it's choosing a defensive stance. Interestingly, you are a barbarian. You can choose to reckless attack. So if you choose to do Resolute Stance at the beginning of your turn, and then you reckless attack, Resolute Stance would make it so enemies would have disadvantage to hit you, and reckless attack would make it have advantage to hit you. So they cancel each other out. And the way advantage-disadvantage rules works is if you have them cancel out, you can't stack on more instances of them, and then whichever one you have the most of wins. They just cancel all of each other out. With this feature at level 6, you could make it so no attacks could have advantage against you if you use Resolute Stance and reckless attack. This is essentially like the rogue's level 18 ability Elusive, where no one can get advantage on them. It's not the exact same thing, but it's pretty similar. So I think this is a very interesting ability that is very unique to just have it be you choose a stance and there's no action required. That's very unusual in 5e. Next at level 10, you get Hurricane Strike. As a reaction, when you push a creature at least 5 feet, you can leap into an unoccupied space next to that creature. If you do so, the creature must succeed on a strength save or be knocked prone. So you knock someone back and then you leap next to them as a reaction so that they become prone. Using this kind of leap as a reaction doesn't require extra movement, and it does not provoke opportunity attacks. So it's nice to get the extra movement, but I don't know if I would use my reaction on this. But interestingly, there's one more part to this ability. Additionally, whenever you push a creature into a space within 5 feet of one of your allies, so whenever you knock an enemy next to one of your buddies, your ally, one of your buddies, can use its reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that creature. Rogues love to get reaction attacks because then they can get sneak attack again a second time in the round, because it's once per turn and not once per your turn, or not once per round, once per turn. So if it's on someone else's turn, you use a reaction as a rogue, you get sneak attack. So you can set them up just by knocking someone next to them. They get that reaction to attack, and they can get sneak attack twice, like double their damage output each round. Any other allies you have that can take advantage of this, it's great, but just the rogue comes to mind as a great one because you can secure their reaction attack. The Hurricane Strike itself, because you're level 10, you're already knocking enemies 10 feet in the air potentially, so it's not as useful to knock the enemies prone and use your reaction to chase after them unless you don't have enough movement. But this does start to feel like Superman fighting General Zod when he was knocking him through the air while flying after him at the speed of sound or whatever, and like hitting him again and hitting him again. Finally, at level 14, you get Unstoppable. While you're raging, your speed cannot be reduced, and you are immune to the frightened, paralyzed, prone, and stunned conditions. So that's nice. While you're raging, you're immune to those things. But wait, there's more. If you are already frightened, paralyzed, or stunned, you can still use a bonus action to enter a rage, even if you can't otherwise take actions. So you'd normally be a sitting duck, but you can choose to use your bonus action to rage even while you're in those conditions, and you suspend those conditions while you're raging because you're immune to them. If anyone plays Dota 2, this is like Ursa's ult, where it can be upgraded to trigger and be cast to make him enraged while he's stunned, so he can break out of stuns with his ultimate ability. That's what this Juggernaut does. It can become immune to these really debilitating conditions, brush them off with a good old-fashioned rage. This subclass is very innovative. It's got some great ideas. I would highly recommend anyone play it if your DM's open to you using this kind of third-party content, especially if you're playing in a critical role campaign setting like Taldorei or Wildmount, or in an adventure module like the recent Call of the Netherdeep. This Juggernaut will excel if you have other martial classes to knock enemies too. If you're playing ping pong, your allies will love you for it. If there are constructs and other structures, objects that you want to destroy during the campaign, you're going to have a lot of fun with that, because it's pretty much like you are an adamantine weapon. Nothing wants to get in your way if it's inanimate. So what do you think of the subclass? Let me know in the comments. And check out the article to see all the other subclasses from Taldorei Reborn, or check out my other videos I'll be doing on them. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good adventure this weekend. Bye.